Hi guys, this is IceMayne. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video was a difficult and controversial one at that. It's the penultimate in my 5-part GOAT series, and man was it tough. Last week we saw Ocarina of Time come out on top in the top 10 Nintendo exclusives. Today's video is all about the top 10 cross-platform releases. Trying to pick one game from a series in this was painful enough, but honestly I feel like I need to list a few of the all-time greats that missed the cut. The likes of Resident Evil, Doom, Bioshock, it's a fantastic trilogy, Tony Hawk, particularly Pro Skater 2, the likes of Sonic, man, Red Dead Redemption, another game that's just fantastic. You got Crash Bandicoot, any one of those trilogies, and Tekken. The list goes on. I would be interested to hear everyone's lists, so feel free to pop your own top 10 in the comments below, because honestly, my list could have changed week to week. But before we begin, as always, if you could hit them like and subscribe buttons to stay up to date with the latest content, it'd mean a lot. But let's get started. The 90s were the heyday of fighting games, but with a few exceptions, most of the titles have long been forgotten. Then there's the classic Street Fighter 2. Capcom stumbled onto something big with this sequel's combo system, allowing players to strategize like never before and eke out victories when defeat seemed all but certain. Add in a cast of instantly iconic characters from around the globe and a pumped up soundtrack, and you have the recipe for one of the best fighters ever made. There have been a ton of Street Fighter games since this one, and a variety of other fighting games, but Street Fighter 2 is the creme de la creme.
It will eventually come for you.
Modern Warfare 2 is the pinnacle of the Call of Duty franchise. It expanded on the solid foundation built by its predecessor, Call of Duty 4, and set a new standard for the first-person shooter genre. With some of the most controversial and memorable campaign moments in the franchise, a brand new co-op mode in Spec Ops, and a top-tier variety of maps for online multiplayer, Modern Warfare 2 kept us coming back for years. With customizable kill streaks and progression challenges refined to perfection, they remain the franchise mainstay. Its visual fidelity, music score, and core gameplay were unprecedented in 2009 and still rival modern-day shooters nearly 10 years later. Modern Warfare 2 was a truly groundbreaking game.
Acting. They're already here. The Elder Scrolls told of their return.
Few games have the lasting impact of Skyrim. You're almost guaranteed to discover some small adventure, some small chunk of world that will engage you. It's that content density that makes Skyrim constantly rewarding. A visit to the Mages Guild will turn into an area-spanning search for knowledge. A random chat with an NPC will lead you to a far-off dungeon, searching for a legendary relic. You could even be picking berries on the side of a mountain and end up in a scrap with a dragon. If you somehow exhaust all of Bethesda's content, you have all the modding community to thank also. It's given endless ways of adventure through a great and fantastic world. PUBG may have kick-started the genre, but Fortnite took things to a whole new level with Battle Royales. Like Marmite, Fortnite splits opinions in dramatic fashion, but there is no denying the power of this behemoth. Keeping a Battle Royale game fresh, engaging, and interesting after such a long period of time is a truly special effort. You've got celebrity endorsements, Marvel tie-ins, live concerts. This game has seen it all. The keys to success in Fortnite comes from being able to build structures around you for protection. The faster you can do that, the better your chances of survival. With its cartoony art style, don't be mistaken in thinking this is a casual game. Fortnite can be a real sweat fest when it comes down to the last few survivors, and will go down in history as one of the best games of all time. Next up, we have Final Fantasy VI. It was essentially a tie between this and Chrono Trigger for me, and I leaned towards the former. Chrono Trigger was fantastic in its own right, and is probably on par. Final Fantasy VI, though, for me is one of the best and most epic gaming stories of all time. Its large cast of characters, its maniacal villain Kefka, timeless score and memorable scenes give it the kind of clout in the gaming industry very few ever achieve. It's one of the most gorgeous 16-bit games ever, showing us a dying world that mixes classic fantasy tropes like castles and magic with technology like robots and trains. Overall, the game isn't just the best in the series, it's one of the best RPGs of all time and one of those games that everyone should at least play once. Tetris for Game Boy wasn't the first version, but it has since gone down in history as one of the most iconic games ever made. Nearly 30 years later, it's still basically the most perfect handheld game ever created. Tetris was a dream for the 2-button green scale handheld. This block-dropping, line-clearing puzzler is incredibly easy to learn, but difficult to master. It requires quite a bit of strategy and becomes very punishing on the upper levels. Despite everyone's obsession with Candy Crush nowadays, Tetris was the original puzzle game millions were addicted to, and no surprise is in the top 3 selling games of all time. Half-Life 2 forever changed our expectations for what a first-person shooter could be. Its richly imagined world and wonderfully paced gameplay is a delight, never letting up and brimming with invention. The gravity gun is obviously the poster child of Half-Life 2, turning each environment into a tactile playground in which you can create improvised weapons and solve basic but clever physics puzzles, and its importance can't be overstated, but there's an awful lot more here. Video games aren't short of alien invasion stories, but Half-Life 2 is so good it makes the whole concept seem fresh and frightening. Taking place several years after the original, Gordon Freeman wakes up to find Earth utterly subjugated by the Combined forces, but a resistant movement is forming. The shrewd environmental puzzles and famed gravity gun exploit the intricate physics engine to make this hellish world feel authentic. You truly hate the enemies, you live every moment, and it goes down as one of the greatest narrative video games ever made. The premise of Minecraft is incredibly simple. You mine materials such as stone and wood, and you build things with it. Yet the possibilities are incredibly limitless. The world always begins as a bright sunny day, and you use this time to chop down trees, dig, maybe even slay a few animals for food. It's great until the sun sets, and then you actually realise it's a survival game. The creativeness on display, the freedom, it's mind-blowing how much time can actually be lost playing this masterpiece. Snake Eater is arguably one of the most interesting love stories ever told in a game, one of the strangest and most exciting Cold War era adventures, and one of the first games to truly make me reflect on my actions as a player. It manages to be tragic, sometimes devastatingly so, and yet still maintain that absurd comedic flair that I admire about the series. In terms of gameplay, Snake Eater introduced adaptable camouflage. It's also incorporated survival mechanics such as hunting food, tracking enemies, first aid, close quarter combat, all things that we hadn't quite seen in the series before. Snake Eater is also distinguished by the emotional boss fight at the game's climax. Metal Gear has never been better. Only one game in history has sold more copies than GTA 5, and that is Minecraft. Full stop, GTA 5 is the best GTA game ever made. GTA 5 is easily the best looking and best playing game in the entire franchise, and a large part of that has to do with Rockstar's attention to detail. You can knock over traffic cones, watch animals in the woods, read labels on cereal boxes, hell, you can watch TV or even surf a totally fictional in-game internet. It's pretty wild. GTA 5 is also a joy to play, and in a single session you can alternate between choosing the chaos of blowing up a train or robbing a bank to the beauty of parachuting over the desert at night. It's wonderful. Then you have GTA Online. Yes, some of the pricing is ridiculous and the grinding to get the newest and coolest toys can take forever, but GTA Online is still a playground that I've lost hundreds of hours in, driving around the mountains, doing missions, racing cars, starting a large fire, firefights with the police. These are all things you've done in GTA before, but being able to do it online with friends revitalizes the experience. The amount of activities you can do online or offline in GTA 5 is ridiculous. With every entry into the series, Rockstar keeps getting bigger and bolder. The game provides a compelling story, a diverse world, and endless amounts of fun. For that reason, it tops my list. I'd be very interested to hear your top 10s, so feel free to post them in the comments below. And if you liked the content, please hit them like and subscribe buttons, as that concludes today's video. I appreciate all those that watched, and as always guys, stay frosty.